early. Yeah, I've qualified for the final, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have the Premier League, which is the most important thing. But you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm happy about today? I'm happy about the fact that Manchester United didn't rest their players. I mean, at the beginning,
And Leicester
yes,
City even lost, which is gonna be a huge one for us.
yes. We'll talk about all that later
Mm-hmm.
when everybody's around. But
Yep.
it's just this today's victory is very, very significant, massively significant,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm proud of the boys. Even though well, we say Manchester United did not turn up,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly. But I mean, it is what it is. Chelsea won, and
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea not just won. Chelsea won convincingly. Chelsea were very,
Yep.
very comfortable.
If not for the other is reckless stupid tackles, it should not that should not have counted though.
In fact, I am telling you, I was watching. I just said, look, even
Continue,
the
continue.
opportunity, the chance he lost, he just played them over the bar.
Yeah.
And I was saying, this is why these kids, why they don't get to see
Butter.
opportunities.
Yeah. Hold on, let me check my internet. I'm coming.
Hello.
Let me fix the internet. I'm coming.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm back. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. Where
Yeah.
where are the guys, man?
I think that they're coming in very soon. They're joining very soon. They're joining very soon. So, what's your take on the match, though? Do you really expect the 3-4-3 formation? You're expecting a huge, like, normal
I
formation?
told you, Abdullahi, I don't know about formation. I don't look at formation.
Like, I mean, back three, sorry. Were you expecting the back
In
three?
fact, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Can you hear any noise in my background? Let
No,
me know
no,
if I'll
no.
change location.
No noise.
Okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
any kids crying. I don't know if you can hear that. Just let me know, so I'll change my location.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't expect it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly did not expect it, but I think it's a breath of fresh air. Lampard definitely tried to do something different. He learned
Mm-hmm.
from the last game. Where is Red Devil?
It's coming
Lampard
in.
learned from the last couple of games we've played against Manchester United, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he adjusted to that and did some things differently. Can you hear any noise in my background? Sorry,
Yeah, I'm hearing some noise. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I might need to change. There's some kids around. I need to change my background, my location, please.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Take your time, though. So, guys, wow. So we're gonna be playing Arsenal in the FA Cup final. Wow, what a match! What a match! What a match, guys! What a match! What a match, guys! What a huge match! What a match, guys! What a match! Fantastic match, guys! So we did it. We're going to the final, guys. Into the final, guys. We did it, guys. So, guys, we did it, guys. We did it. We did it, guys. We did it, guys. We did it. We made it, guys. So, how you guys feeling? So, how you guys feeling, guys? We did it, guys. We did it. It was a fantastic win, guys. So, we moved into the FA Cup final with Arsenal. So, it's a London derby. A London derby, guys. A London derby. So, we move into the final. It's a London derby, guys. So, we move into the final of the FA Cup on August the 1st. We play Arsenal in the final. So, guys, how you guys feeling, guys? How you feeling? How you feeling, guys? How you feeling? How you guys feeling? How you feeling, guys? So, how you feeling, guys? How you guys feeling? So, guys, do you guys expect them do you guys expected in the change of formation or the way we press, we play United and everything? Do you guys expected that? If for me, I could not believe we could play kind of way, but it's Chelsea though. So when it matters most, we turn up, which has been the Chelsea of what's called of those days. When it matters a lot, we turn up, and which has been a fantastic match for us. It's been very, very good because we turn up when it matters a lot. So guys, so how you guys doing? How you doing, guys? How you all doing? I hope you guys are doing well. So guys, how you all doing, guys? I hope you guys are doing well. So guys, we made it to the final, guys. I'm waiting for the rest of the guys to join in to come in and join, guys. I'm waiting for the other guys to come in and join. So I'm waiting for them to come in and join so we can dissect this matches, talk about it, and analyze their viewpoint and everything. But at the moment, it's Chelsea 3, Manchester United 1. We into the FA Cup final, guys. The FA Cup final, we into it, man, guys. So, guys, how you all feeling, guys? How you all feeling? I hope you guys are kind of happy, fantastic, because the United fans has been on the neck of Chelsea like a long time ago. We beat them 3 times, so they've been shouting, "We're gonna trash Chelsea. We're gonna do this to Chelsea." But fortunately for them, they never expected the show in which Chelsea pulled out. So it was a fantastic match. It was a fantastic match. So it's kind of very good match for us. Now we can kind of focus more on the top four. Make sure we make the top four. Then by next month we have another rest for the next month. Then we can easily prepare for the matches. So upside is here. So you can go on now.
Okay. So what was the question again? If I saw
I
the
said
flag increase,
mhm.
well, I'd not see. To be honest, I really didn't think that deeply of it. But it's good to see that Frank Lampard actually tried something different,
Mm-hmm.
you know, against Manchester United. But don't forget, he has already lost 3 times against United in the Premier
Mm-hmm.
League and, of course, in the cup competition. So
Yeah.
it was a good reaction, definitely a good reaction for him, and it paid off. Contrary
Mm-hmm.
to other times where Chelsea will play well and end up losing at the end of the day. Even when Manchester United tried to be defensive, Chelsea
Mm-hmm.
played well, had all the possession, and ended up losing on the counter attack. But this time
Mm-hmm.
around, Lampard overloaded the midfield,
Yeah.
right? He overloaded the midfield with, fullbacks playing with the likes of Alonso and Rhys James. So he overloaded the midfield for Chelsea. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
it works out at the end of the day. And then again, having a player like Giroud starting up front, Giroud took advantage. Caused a nuisance, disturbed
Mm-hmm.
the opposition defense. Even times when he considered free kicks,
Yeah.
but at least he disturbed Manchester United's defense, and he ended up working out in our favor. In both games, let me even mention that in both games, compare the lineup then. I
Yeah.
think the first one, the 2-1 against Manchester United. The
Mm-hmm.
first, the second game, that was the second game against Manchester United. Chelsea started with the likes of um, what's his name, Michi Bashwai up front,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then Hudson Odoi.
Mm-hmm.
In that game, the 2-1 loss in the Premier League, second leg in the Premier League,
Yeah.
in the Carabao Cup, and then in the
Mm-hmm.
Premier League, the very first one, Chelsea had the likes of Barkley up top, Barkley playing from the wing, and
Mm-hmm.
Pedro and Tammy
Yeah.
Abraham. So you see, and then Mason Mount. So it's totally different to a significant extent, different from the lineup Chelsea had today. And of course, the
Mm-hmm.
midfield, of course, was loaded with experienced players. Alonso now counts as, of course, one of the better, more experienced senior players Chelsea has in the side, with Mateo Kovacic, and he paid off. Giroud
Yeah.
up top, Willian up top, and Mason Mount as well. So it worked out at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me also mention that the fact that we had a player like Kodzuma is good in the air. In fact,
Yeah.
he's our best after Giroud. I don't think there's any other player that's as good as
Mm-hmm.
Kodzuma
Yeah.
with when it comes to aerial balls. And
Mm-hmm.
he did the job, imposed the box, and they got the job done. They had their heads calm, and they got the job done.
Mm-hmm. So were you surprised in which way Chelsea turned up?
To be honest, yes, I expected Chelsea to be a little bit more nervous, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I expected Chelsea to be a little bit more nervous,
Yeah.
especially what was at stake.
Yeah.
Knowing that they had already lost to United a couple of times so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Exactly.
yeah, so I expected them to be more nervous
Yeah.
because the psychological aspects of the game is there. You can't take anything away from it.
Yeah.
But then Chelsea got the job done. Lampard also seems to have done a good job of settling the guys. And I think to an extent, Manchester United's, would I say, never starts and all the injuries, that
Mm-hmm.
United sustained. In the first half, there was a period of about more than 10 minutes that the game was put on hold, if you remember,
Yeah.
to take out yeah, I think that whole
Very-
thing affected United psychologically, and of course worked in favor of Chelsea.
okay.
That's what I think.
So let me ask you, were you surprised like when he didn't kind of play Christian Pulisic because he kind of said that he was injured before the match, that he doesn't want to risk him. That was why I put him on the bench. So were you
Sorry.
surprised? He said, were you surprised that he didn't play Pulisic because Lampard himself confirmed that he was he was a little bit injured in the warm up. So that was why he doesn't want to take the risk and play him. That was why I put him on the bench. So were you surprised?
Oh, he was supposed to start before.
Yeah, he was supposed to start, but Lampard said he was injured. So that's why he doesn't want to take the risk. So that's why I put him on the bench.
Well, first of all, I'm actually more surprised that he wanted to start Pulisic,
Mm-hmm.
because this is the FA Cup. There's still the most important thing, which is the top four, battle for top four that Chelsea is still competing for.
Yeah.
I would obviously imagine that Lampard and Chelsea, of course, will pick top four over the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that, I mean, it's easier to understand if he says he needed to play Willian, right?
Mhm.
In all these games, it's easier for
Yeah.
me to understand they are playing Willian because Willian has more experience playing back-to-back games.
Yeah.
Playing 3 games in 1 week, Willian has more experience and the
Mhm.
energy than a player like Pulisic. So I would have thought that Lampard would have wanted to rest Pulisic ahead of the must-win game or must-win games between Liverpool and Wolves.
Mhm.
So the fact that he even contemplated starting Pulisic is, I mean, surprising to me. But then again, I guess precautionary. He decided you know, to rest Pulisic,
Yeah.
and the guys got the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I think we got a new guy here. His name is Culture. Can you hear me? Culture, can you hear me? Oh, I'm not sure if you can hear me well. Can you hear me very well? Oh, I don't think you can hear me very well. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Culture, can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me very, very well. I don't think so. So, so let me go to offside for you. Firstly, like because Bruno Fernandez was the best players in that match, but were you surprised in the way we kind of didn't allow United to play their ball at all? Just kind of everybody on the high pressing, both Giroud, both Mount, both everybody. So were you surprised in the tactics in the way both Mason Mount, both Willian and
Yeah,
pressing?
I'm hearing you.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I won't say I was surprised. I won't say I'm surprised.
I'm hearing
More
you.
impressed than surprised because
Mhm.
I mean Chelsea. I know what Chelsea can do when they want to play their game. When they
Yeah,
mean to play their game,
yeah.
Chelsea can be a very big nuisance. But the problem that Chelsea has always suffered this season continue to raise its ugly head, especially in the first half. It was unfortunate that Manchester United didn't come out at some point, to
Mm-hmm.
dominate the game or impose themselves in the game because Chelsea continued to have possession, continued to have opportunities going forward. But when it always got to that final third, as Mourinho said months ago, Chelsea is a team that likes to have possession, but you can easily control their movements.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily control their play. And that was something that was evident until that Giroud's goal. Chelsea was fond of getting just in front of the 18-yard area, knocking the ball around sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards, crossfield, you know, and without necessarily, disturbing or testing the goalkeeper or even central defenders. There were
Yeah.
just a handful of chances where Chelsea actually had shots on target, not to talk of actually testing the goalkeeper and the defense.
Yeah.
It was either losing passes here and there, and it's a problem that has persisted so far this season. And fortunately, Manchester United did not come out to try to take the initiative.
So let me ask you: do you kind of partially blame David DJ for the goal, or you be like just on their day brilliant? You kind of blame for the 2 goals.
Hello, culture.
Culture, can you hear us? I think
Culture.
it's
If
kind of
something is wrong with your network, you might want to turn off and leave and come back.
exactly. I think you might want to go out and come back again. The network is kind of bad. So let me ask you offside now. So were you like, are you gonna partially blame David DJ for the goal, or you're gonna be like just kind of,
Absolutely, I'm blaming him for all 3 goals.
so
All 3 goals. He was responsible for all 3 goals.
wow. So, but do you
All
think?
3 goals.
Okay, do you think
That
we're
very
letting?
first goal, the very first goal, of course, he knew he could have done better. He had his hand to the ball, but he didn't have a strong hand behind the ball. That was the problem he had, and he let the ball go in. The second one was even the most awful one. That was the shot from Mason Mount.
This
He
amount, yeah.
had ample space. He had the guy had ample space. He had
Mm-hmm.
ample, centimeters to stretch or straighten
Mm-hmm.
his arms to make a strong arm. It should have been an easy save. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a fantastic shot from Mason Mount. It wasn't a fantastic shot at all. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow he fumbled it. The same thing went on to happen with the third goal. The third goal, I felt that he could have saved it, but then, of course, it was an own goal. It
Yeah.
wasn't far from him. He could have done better
Mm-hmm.
in all 3 goals.
Exactly. So what? So let me ask you this now. So Leicester City lost today. So like now, what's your take on the after the FA Cup now? What's your take on the top four? So how many wins do we need to win to claim the fourth? Do you just want to win against Liverpool or just kind of make a neck do against Liverpool then go on against Wolves and
Well,
beat
what
them?
Chelsea mathematically, yeah, what Chelsea needs now, Chelsea needs a guaranteed needs 3 points to guarantee top four, at
Mhm.
least fourth position, right? But now, I mean, 2 games to go. Both teams have, I think Leicester City have just 1 game to go, right?
One game to go. They lost today.
Yes. So Leicester City have just 1 game to go, and that game is against Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
So what it means at this point is, if Manchester United win their next game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the one against Leicester City. If they win their next game,
Against
they'll
West Ham.
climb up. They'll let me see.
Let me look at the Premier League table. Let me look at the table. Let me look at the table.
Yeah, it's fine. If Manchester United against West Ham on Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
they would now get to they'll have 65 points, and that will be
Yeah.
2 points ahead of Chelsea,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
I'm 2 points ahead of Chelsea. And what
Mm-hmm.
what that means is going into the last game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going into the last game, Manchester United win, the highest they could get is 68 points, right?
Yep.
But if they
Yep.
draw, they'll get 66
Mm-hmm.
points. And if
Mm-hmm.
they lose, they'll have 65 points, right?
Yeah.
And then what
Yep.
that means, if they lose, that means Leicester City will also have 65 points. Both teams will be tied on points. And as things are,
Exactly.
both teams have identical points and goal difference,
Goal
28
difference.
28.
So head to
Exactly.
head. Head to head in that coming.
Yeah, but what it means now, my point basically is, if if Leicester City win against Manchester United, if Man United win their next game against Crystal Palace, and
Mm-hmm.
Leicester City defeat
West
them,
Ham. West Ham.
and let me finish, please. And against West Ham, and Leicester City defeat them, sorry, in the last game, that means both of them will be tied on points, 65 points, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's if Chelsea now fails to win any of their last 2 games, what it would mean is that Chelsea will be knocked out. So what Chelsea needs is a guaranteed 3 points, and those 3 points will take Chelsea. In fact, those 3 points, those 3 points will take Chelsea to 66 points,
Yeah.
right? So Chelsea
Mm-hmm.
needs at least 3 points to guarantee a place in the Champions League.
Okay.
Now, to now guarantee a place in a third place finish, Chelsea needs to at least to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, simply Chelsea needs to win their last 2 games, because
Last 2 games.
if they
Yeah.
win, the last 2 games,
Yeah.
it's the last 2 games. But then again, if Arsenal could beat Liverpool, and I think Liverpool have some key players suspended, and
Mm-hmm.
the likes of the right back, Trent Alexander-Arnold is now suspended.
It's suspended.
Yeah, he's suspended. He got a fifth yellow card in their last
Wow.
game against Arsenal. Yes.
So he won't play.
Yeah, he won't play against Chelsea. So there's a chance that,
Mm-hmm.
but then again, there's a revenge mission. They might come out with anger of losing against Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
So he may just work against Chelsea at the end of the day.
Yep. So let me ask you this.
Let's see.
Let me ask you this now. If United maybe they lose against West Ham or they draw, is it over for is the top over for them or no?
If who?
If United lose or draw against West Ham United, is it over for them? Is the top 4 over or not?
If United lose or draw against West Ham United,
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly say if they lose against West Ham, I don't know. The last game they have against Leicester City
Mm-hmm.
will be away at Leicester City.
Yeah.
So if they lose against, I won't say it's over, because mathematically it's still possible. It will still be possible. So what it will now mean is that both of them, United and Leicester City,
Mm-hmm.
will be competing.
So I'm listening. I'm listening.
Right? And what that means,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what that means is that Chelsea will be guaranteed the top 4,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them will have to drop out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't say guaranteed. I would say that Manchester United will be guaranteed losing at Big Six as long as mathematically possible. They're still there, but
Mm-hmm.
top four, and one of them will have to drop out. So I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't.
Can you hear me outside?
yes, I can hear you very well.
The network is kind of okay.
No, I can hear
So,
you very well.
oh, okay. So my next question to you is now like as a fans now. So we like this season now. If let's say Chelsea wins the FA Cup and finish in the top, maybe top three or top four. So where's the better manager between Ole and then Frank Lampard?
I wouldn't say better man. Some of those
Okay,
questions,
who has a
those
better
are,
season? Who has a better season between Ole and Frank?
of course, now Frank Lampard. I would say Frank Lampard would have had a better season. Absolutely, it's not even under dispute. Because I mean, Lampard had all odds against the fact that we're even mentioning Ole in the same breath as Lampard. I keep saying this huge commendation
Mm-hmm.
to Lampard, because Ole has been in management for so many years. He has been in management in England, the lower division, Premier League. He has coached in the Premier League before. He has coached in lower division before. From lower division, he even coached in his own native Norway.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and now he has come back to the Premier League and coached for months in the Premier League, had transfer windows before Lampard even came on board at Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just not just Lampard's first year at Chelsea, but second year ever as a manager. So it's huge credit to Lampard to be mentioned in the same breath as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But as things are, it seems like Lampard may be, doing better than him. He had a transfer window. Lampard didn't have a transfer window.
Yeah.
He had more. He had so much money at his disposal. Had so much more experienced players. Had so much more options. But Lampard has, you stopped him. Manchester United fans are quick to point out that Chelsea lost thrice against them this
Mm-hmm.
season. But after losing thrice, what did you do with it? The fact that Newcastle United, for example, defeated Chelsea does not mean they've had a better season than Chelsea. You get?
Mm-hmm.
Or it does not mean that they are better than Chelsea. It's just that's why it's a marathon. It's a marathon to see what you can achieve in 8 months. I mean, now a whole year, yes, but it's exactly it's not the same. It's what did you do with the points you had? Chelsea have, of course, knocked them out to get to the final. They didn't even get to the final of the competition that they knocked Chelsea out of. So Chelsea is definitely in a better position. Even if at this point Chelsea don't win the FA Cup, Chelsea will certainly get a medal. Frank Lampard will get a medal at Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And it counts for something.
Let me go for culture. So culture, what's your take on the match between United and Chelsea? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello, Culture, are you there?
Are you there? I think his network is a little bit.
are you?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can. Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you. We can hear you very well, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. On today's match, though, okay. On today's match, Chelsea did very well, though. Hudson. Those guys, yeah, they need to be starting as first 11 also. And the likes of Mount, that guy is a great player, though. Though I didn't watch the football to end, but I really enjoyed it.
Was it because it was maybe it wasn't that kind of a
Oh, network. What the fuck, man? Right.
So let me ask you this offside. So where will you rate David De Gea at the moment? Where are you gonna rank him in terms of goalkeeping ability? Where will you rank him?
Who will I rank who?
David De Gea.
Well,
Dav-
I honestly think that De Gea has significantly declined in his abilities. Significantly declined.
Wow.
You know, so I don't know. In the past couple of 2 years, you know, it's easy for Manchester United or fans generally to point out and say, "Ah, you won the Manchester United Player of the Year for 2 consecutive seasons, or was it 3 consecutive seasons?" You
Mm-hmm.
know, in the past, a couple of years ago. But the question is, in the land of a blind, but the truth is, in the land of the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Doesn't like
Mm-hmm.
he has exactly been perfect, and his um how do I put it? Inefficiencies in recent times have been very visible for all to see. So something is wrong. I'm not sure. I think between his confidence and or just the poor nature of the whole team. I
Mm-hmm.
feel that all those things are what cause the problem between basically what make up the situation David De Gea finds himself in. I wouldn't say he has automatically become a bad goalkeeper, but something is wrong. He has the talent, he has the ability, but between the fact that he's losing motivation, the squad is not motivating, they're no more competing at the level that he would want them to compete at, or he had dreamed for them to compete at. He's getting all the money he can imagine as a goalkeeper, the highest goalkeeper ever, highest earning goalkeeper ever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's not much to look forward to. There's not much to compete for. He's just going as tagging along with the rest of the squad,
Yeah.
turning up here and there, not turning up here and there.
So if I'm in United fans now or the board, will you bring the Anderson ahead of David Gea or you give David Gea another season? So
What did you say?
I said, being a United fan now, or maybe you're one of the board now, will you bring Dean Anderson of Sheffield United, or you live with it, or you leave David Gea for one more season? Because we know David Anderson is on loan to Sheffield United, and he could come back anytime. So will you bring him like to United at the moment, or for him to compete with the GA, or just like let's give David Gea some a little bit of competition, or you go with David Gea for the next season? What will you do? So what will you do? Can you hear me outside?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Oh,
Are you hearing me?
yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you now.
network.
The network is bad. I think the network is a little bit bad too. Maybe you need to go and come out. Maybe you need to go and come out again. I think you need to go and come out again. The network is poor though. I think the network is poor. Culture, maybe you need to go and come out. You need to go out and come out again.
But are you
The
hearing me now?
network is kind of fluctuating. Maybe you need to go out and come out again. It's kind of fluctuating.
Okay.
So okay, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Yeah. I didn't hear culture. I've not heard culture.
I
I've not
think
heard
I
it.
think the
Not
network is a
something
little
wrong with network.
yeah, a little bit. It needs to be a little bit going up and coming out. He needs to fix his network though.
What about Red Devil
Well,
and the
I
rest
want to
of the
send him
guys?
the link though. I'm not sure if he's gonna come in. And I think he's kind of a little bit frustrated. I don't know.
Are you serious? Let me go.
May-
Are you
Maybe.
serious? Red Devil is not going to come here.
I already sent him the link though. I sent him the link. I did. I sent him the link though. So it was frustrated with David J. I was like, you need to take your hair. Like, you guys already lost. Let's let it go. I already sent him the link. I'm not sure if he's gonna come in. So let me ask you this. If you are United at the moment now, will you swap Dean Anderson for David De Gea or you give David De Gea another season?
Henderson
Yeah,
or
Dean
the
Anderson
gear.
of
Honestly, I mean, ideally based on performance on the pitch, Honestly, I think Henderson is currently you know performing better than David De Gea. But when you look at the other aspects of the game, you have to look at De Gea collects almost, I think, about £300,000 per week, which
Yeah.
is a lot of money for you to pay a guy that will sit on the bench. Henderson, on the other hand, is not ready to return. Is not ready to return to United and become a substitute goalkeeper, and he's too good to be a substitute goalkeeper. Chelsea is going after him for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think first of all, it's a dicey situation, and it should be difficult for Manchester United to make that decision. I don't know. I think, as I said, the guy is still talented. He's still as talented as he was a couple of years ago. It's just down to commitment, distractions. The same problem that the rest of the squad is having: motivation. And the motivation now at this point isn't financial motivation; it's monetary. I think it's largely depends on the ambitions and the ambitions of the team, of the whole squad, going into the season. If the rest of the squad is performing as is expected of them, I feel like he will also perform as well. So at the end of the day, between Henderson on the field of play, I would pick Henderson ahead of him, ahead of the Gea. Yes.
Exactly. So, as a fans now, so like, let me ask you now, what areas do we need to, like, even if the summer comes in, what area do you think we can improve on drastically? So, being a fans,
Sorry,
what area do you think we can kind of improve more going into next season? What area do we need to improve on?
I didn't get that.
I said, being a fans now, what areas do you think we can improve on drastically coming into next season?
What area do you think what?
We can improve on coming into next season. What
Oh,
area?
Chelsea can improve on going into
Yeah.
next season.
hmm So, where do you think Chelsea can
There are
improve on?
times when you watch a game
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like, okay, this is a problem. The defense is a problem. The
Mm-hmm.
left back position is a problem. There are other times you watch a game and you're seeing a problem and you're saying, okay, the goalkeeping position is a problem. The centre back is a problem. Defensive midfield is a problem. Sometimes you say it's the strike force, the midfielders. Sometimes you say, yeah, they're not being offensive enough. They don't take their chances. So the Chelsea situation is very, very dicey, if you ask me. But priority between the goalkeeping position and centre back and left back, I
Mm-hmm.
would pick the centre back as priority. I'll honestly pick centre back as priority. It's an irony because just before the pandemic, I wouldn't have considered the centre back as priority. I would have gone for probably the left back or the goalkeeping position. But
Mm-hmm.
things have changed, and situations have exposed the fact that the biggest problem Chelsea currently has is centre back. The left back, Alonso has done pretty. I mean, I can't remember when last a full back or a winger, took advantage of him and ran him to the ground. I can't remember when last that happened.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we have the like of Aspilicueta that can always swap position or switch position rather from the
Mm-hmm.
right back to the left back. So we have someone that can, take that place even if temporarily. So for me, my priority will be centre back.
Centre back. So you're not gonna worry too
Absolutely.
much on the goalkeeping area or the goalkeeper position. Sorry.
No, that's not priority for me. I feel like if we sort out defense to an extent would improve the goalkeeper. And it doesn't mean the goalkeeper is good enough either. If you take
Mm-hmm.
out the goalkeeper, bring in another goalkeeper,
Mm-hmm.
the defense sometimes can be so bad, and I feel like it still won't be enough for Chelsea. At least for Chelsea to win the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. But for me, I think we need the goalkeeper too. I think we need the goalkeeper, but I think like what you said also is true. We need the central back that can also coordinate the defense. Maybe we'll see if truly the goalkeeper is the problem or the defense is the problem. Like that's how I see it though. Because I know if the defense is fixed, I think the goalkeeper will be all right. Just for me. Because look at it this way now. If you spend money on the goalkeeper and we kind of making the same mistake we make last this year, I'm gonna making the same mistake in the upcoming season. Then what's going on? So I think my worry should be like go on the central back first at the moment. Let's see how we pair together. If we're able to buy a goalkeeper, let's buy a goalkeeper. So then I think that is what we could improve on, which is kind of okay at the moment, which is very good for me. So, so overall though,
But you know the question you asked me was priority. All these positions are priority. I mean, all these positions are important um to the team. We need to improve on all of them. But
yeah.
then priority, if I were to pick one position, that's the position I would pick. The center back. Unfortunately, there are not many good world class, ready-made center backs out there in the market.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there's a scarcity of center backs, defenders, good quality defenders in the market as things are. So Chelsea has to be very, very prudent, number one, and they have to be very, very careful so they don't rush into the market and make the same mistake they made with Kepa Arrizabalaga on the
Yeah.
side him. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very important. I mean, clubs need money at this point. It's easy to just package a player, put their profile together, put in their
Mm-hmm.
reels, and sell it to people on YouTube, to fans on YouTube, and of course to clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, in as much as we are rushing, fans are eager for new names to um, join the team. They also have to be very careful, especially when people say, yeah, Chelsea has money, Hazard money, Alvaro Morata money, Costa money. Doing all those calculations, they have to be very careful because that money is not exactly the way fans calculate the money that it actually is. There are so many underlying factors. Things are not exactly the way fans see them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just go blow the money and end up blowing it on, you know, players that don't deserve it.
Exactly. You're very
That's just
correct.
my.
Yeah. Mhm. You're very right though. But I think for me, we still need, yeah, it's true that you said it. We still need the goalkeeper though. But I think the defender is the priority at the moment, which is for me, which is gonna help the other centre back working together and also support the goalkeeper, the goalkeeping position for me, which is okay in terms of what we need. So my question is let's dive into William a little bit. So I've
Mm-hmm.
been we know that he's been offering 2 years, but he rejected 2 years contract. So he said he wants,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the Chelsea board said they won't give him more than 2 years. So where would be the ideal club you think William will go? Because if William go, we need to buy a replacement for William. We have to buy a replacement for him if he goes. So firstly, my first question for you is where do you think William will go? Because it's a free transfer, and also who would we buy like Chelsea buy for a replacement for William? So go for it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, ideally, Lampard's contract. Sorry, Williams' contract. I beg your pardon.
Mm-hmm.
Williams' contract should have expired at the end of last month, but for this extension, this pandemic induced extension, he extended his contract with
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea to see out the rest of the season without any particular date affixed to it. But here now is the deal. I think there was an interview he granted earlier today. I
Yeah.
mean, it was published earlier either today or yesterday
Mm-hmm.
on a YouTube channel where he said that he's ready to sign for Chelsea. He'll sign for Chelsea in a heartbeat. Extend his contract in a
Mm-hmm.
heartbeat. But then what he's requesting for is 3 years, and Chelsea is offering 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he categorically said that whatever he wants to get from any club, so it's not just Chelsea, any club whatsoever, it has to be a 3-year contract.
Wow. So that's a
Now,
little bit. Okay.
exactly. So now changes the face of things entirely. He has been linked to certain clubs like Barcelona. He has been linked to Arsenal. He has been linked back to Tottenham. He has even been linked to Manchester United at some point. The
Yeah.
question now is, all these clubs that he has been linked with, will they be willing to offer him, he's 31 years old, going to 32, will they be willing to offer him a 3-year contract
Hmm.
on the current amount, or the current salary he earns? I think it's over £100,000 per week, or even more than that. Now, that's the big question. Now, would he, at the end of the day, if he doesn't get there, a chance that he can actually extend and sign Chelsea? I've always told you guys that I feel deep down he may eventually, accept the 2-year offer Chelsea has on the table for him. Don't forget that he just became a British citizen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He applied and he just got it to become a British citizen. So
Mhm.
he obviously feels at home in not just England but in London as well.
Mhm.
What are the odds that he leave Chelsea and move to Tottenham? A club that he obviously has bad blood with, even though Jose Mourinho is the manager at the club. What are the odds? I would say it's absolutely very low. Chances of him joining Arsenal, with alongside his best friend in childhood best friend in David Luiz, is also pretty low to me. I don't see that happening, especially not on a free transfer. Chelsea fans will reap whatever is left of his legacy at the club. They rip it apart. Now, Barcelona, he has been linked to Barcelona for the past 2 years or so. There was a time he was on the verge of joining them in the January transfer window for
Mhm.
£50 million, but Chelsea turned it
Exactly.
down, according to reports.
Mhm.
The point is this: Barcelona are going through a very difficult time on their own, right?
Yeah.
They ended the season with a 5-0 victory against Alaves. I think yes, Alaves.
Alaves. Alaves. Mhm.
Alaves, yes, against Alaves this evening. On Sunday.
Mhm.
But then the thing is, Barcelona, because they're trying to reach from the bench, what are the odds that they want to bring in and Willian? Yes, they might not eventually end up paying. They might not eventually pay any transfer fee. He'll be coming for free. But then again, what are the odds that the new manager would rate him enough, especially to want to have him in the side? Do you understand? What are the chances as well that he would go there and be a guaranteed starter as he's used to, especially at Chelsea?
Mhm.
So it just seems like the safest place to be at this point is to remain at Chelsea, sign the new 2-year contract, and just remain at Chelsea.
Mhm.
So I feel, as I said, I feel like he would end up extending his contract at Chelsea. That might be an unpopular one, but that's what I think. And I strongly believe so.
Okay. Let's put it this way: if William eventually go, who do you think we can buy as an ideal replacement for him?
I feel like we've already bought a player. We've bought players,
Mhm.
honestly. We have already bought players because remember, Chelsea already secured the future of, not even secured, has already joined the club, joined the guys in training.
Akim
Um,
Ziyech.
Ziyech, yes,
Mhm.
and of course, Timo Werner. Timo Werner has joined Chelsea more or less
Mhm.
as things are. And then when it comes to what's his name, Kai Havertz obviously is on the verge as well.
Yeah.
Discussions are still ongoing. They've already signed a player. Don't forget, we still have Pulisic. We even have Odoi,
Yeah.
right? We
Mhm.
have a couple of players. Lampard is flexible. He can afford to play Mount sometimes on the wing, as he played him earlier.
Mhm.
As he played him on Sunday
Yeah.
against Manchester United. So it's that's I don't think that's a problem. Kai Havertz can also play from the wing.
Yeah.
Timo Werner can also play from the wing.
Yeah.
So we
Exactly.
don't necessarily need to sign any new player. Two
Mhm.
players are going in Pedro and William, and incoming are 3 players, of
Yeah.
course.
Mhm.
Or 2 players if you take out Timo Werner, even though he can also play as a winger. So I don't think there's any other player. You can't be talking about signing Jordan Sancho.
No.
How
No.
the conversation of Jordan Sancho just disappeared is just it's still a mystery to me.
Wow, I'm even happy you brought it up. I'm even happy you brought it up. I keep saying it. Yeah, Sancho is just normal for me. Is out and out dynamic winger. It's not like a versatile player like I have at. It's a normal winger who plays on the left wing and on the right wing. But for Kai Havertz is a versatile. He can play in the middle. He can play as number 8. He can even play as a Jorginho role because he's a passer. So when you have a flexibility in your team and a very versatile player, then that gives you the chance with other opponents because some team start to drop deep and play like a mid block and everything. So you need a player that can disturb that block to open up space for either the winger and the striker. In which I think Sancho can
Yeah,
do.
but Ziyech can play very well against a low block.
Yeah.
That's basically what he. Well, that's why he's called the Wizard of from Amsterdam. Wizard of Amsterdam, where he's coming from.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He can send in the crosses, he can dribble. Pulisic, don't forget, can also do all those things. But the
Exactly.
problem Pulisic has had is that the forward players he plays with either misunderstand his run, they don't read his run well enough, or they don't
Mhm.
support him. But William Pulisic, I beg your pardon, is a player that can do all those things, especially with his center of gravity quite low to the ground.
Yeah.
Um, he can be very effective in that regard.
Yeah. Wow. So, like, I keep hearing that people kind of slating Bruno, Paul Labil, Pogba, Greenwood, and everything. So, let me ask: is it just about tactics, or just the way United play, which makes them kind of flutter today, or just about maybe they're resting players for Wednesday match, or do you see some lapses in the way they play that makes them lose this match?
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about
Manchester United.
yeah. I'm talking about United. Is it about Bruno, Labil, Pogba, Greenwood, Martial, and everything, or just about lack of concentration, or just lapses in their play, which makes them lose a lot of, which make them lose these matches today? If you remember, they've been on 19 winning streak, so which is a huge, huge result for them and huge, let me say, momentum going to this match. So was it just lack of concentration or just lack of lapses make them lose this match, or just one of those days, one of those matches? So what's your take on it?
Wrong with? I mean, I've seen Manchester United. It was at the end of the day he brought on Pogba, and even when Pogba came on,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the change wasn't really significant. I remember the first game after the restart that Pogba came from the bench to join Bruno Fernandes and he won a penalty. I can't remember the game that was.
Against
He won a
Tottenham.
penalty
Against Tottenham.
against Tottenham. I think that was how the game ended in 1-0 draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Against Tottenham. And I was talking with Red Devil. And Red Devil said, yeah, that's what Pogba brings to the table. But he came on against Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And I could barely notice his presence, you know. And I feel like at the end of the day, the bulk of issue they had
Mm-hmm.
was they seemed down in spirits or down lacking motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was basically what I sensed because the guys on the pitch could definitely they had Rashford there, they had Marcel there, they
Yeah.
had okay, yeah, Luke Shaw may have been out injured, but they also had James. You know, James can play. They brought on Greenwood. They basically brought up their first 11. Maguire was on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Eric Bay was injured at some point. Lindelof was on the pitch. No, they had all the guys that usually get the job done or that have been getting the jobs done in the Premier League. So I think what happened today, maybe it was a different competition entirely, was down to motivation. They didn't play as good as I know they can. Even though, yes, against Chelsea they may concede possession, right? But
Mm-hmm.
better off on the counter. And Chelsea overloaded that midfield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lampard did a very good job with his lineup, and Chelsea overloaded that midfield. But Manchester United just could not react to that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I felt, should have made a substitution earlier in the game and probably taken off Fred earlier than he did and brought him on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
something was off. The only player as I felt like he was actually on the pitch, and he had to be on the pitch was Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcel, Rashford were barely existent on the pitch.
Okay.
I think motivation was lacking.
Hmm. Okay. So let me ask you this question now. So Ole just said it was just because Chelsea had the 48 hours rest, which made them better in the FA Cup, that United doesn't have that rest, and he's not gonna complain too much about the rest and everything. He would rather play the semi-final and than not play it. So what's your take on that? Is he just making an excuse about it, or just let it go?
I didn't hear that. I didn't get what you
I
said.
said Ole, after the post-match action of Ole, he said Chelsea had a lot of rest, like 48-hour rest than them, which made them more fitter than United. And also he said he would rather have the semi-final played than not played at all. That he won't make any fuse out of it. So my question to you is he making an excuse about it, or just like it's just
I mean, that's an excuse. He's just making an excuse. I mean, he has to say something embarrassing, though, if you ask me. But here is the thing: the question is, had it been United won that game, would he have taken the 48 hours into consideration? No, I don't think he would have brought it up. I think it's kind of an embarrassing excuse to give. Yeah, don't get me wrong, 48 hours is pretty significant. But I mean, there have been times where you get to play a game on Friday, or you get to play a game on Wednesday, and you're playing another game on Saturday against a team that the last time they played was the Saturday before or the Sunday before. You get me? It's not an excuse. I mean, it is what it is, which is why you're playing at this level. You consider yourself a big team, right? For you to get to this level of the competition, or for you to get to this stage of the competition and still be competitive at certain levels. You get me? So it is expected that you have a big enough. That's why you should rotate. You should rotate your squad. It's not the fault of the organizers. It's not even the fault of the opposition. And as I said, it's it's not the best excuse, especially at this level. He knows it deep down, within him that that wasn't the problem with his squad. If he starts giving that excuse, what would he say about the next game that they'll play on Wednesday against West Ham United? Is he saying he would give up already? Today is Sunday. Sunday, they have just 3 days, 72 hours before the next game. Are they saying that they would lose that game automatically? No.
Wow. So I think for me though, it's a little bit of excuse though, like him coming out and say, because he's been saying that in the press conference a lot, that Chelsea has been giving more time to race than them for the FA Cup, that it's not good enough. People kind of asking him, but the Chelsea play on Monday, Chelsea play on Tuesday, Chelsea play on Wednesday, just the same way you guys play. Then there isn't no excuse about them giving an extra rest. It's just about this how the schedule is being set up. But it was like, no, that they've been giving more rest than them, which kind of a little bit help them a lot, because now they'll get more fitter than their players. But for me, I think it's just a little bit of an excuse for me. It's a lack of mentality and lack of cohesion in the team, which made them lose
Who?
today. United.
Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think lack of confidence and lack of cohesion in the team, I think, which makes them lose today. For me, in my own opinion, lack of confidence and lack of cohesion in the team, which makes them lose the match today. A lot.
To an extent, to be honest with you, I feel that that Giroud's goal came at the right time, right? It just came at the perfect time for Chelsea, because I mean, I think it was before the injuries, right?
Yeah.
Before the injuries, yes. Giroud scored that goal just in the nick of time before the break, right?
Yeah.
And then just before the break, subsequently, United had a couple of injuries to their players that involved bandages, involved being stretchered off, And to an extent, I felt it destabilized United. It was a protracted delay. Now, imagine what would have happened if Chelsea hadn't scored that goal and came into the second half. Manchester United would have been bolder. They would have been emboldened to go for it. Remember, they were behind Chelsea in terms of possession, shots at goal, shots entirely, in statistics basically in the first half. So if they had gone in at the break without conceding any goal, they would have definitely been emboldened going into the second half, which is something that is typical of Chelsea. Chelsea plays games, has possession, do all sorts, but they penetrate and hit the back of the net of the opposition. So I feel like that Giroud's goal came at the very right time. And then the injury was a freak injury to two United players, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Really freak injury, concussion to two players. And I felt it affected the players to a significant extent. And sadly, though, and I hope everybody recovers and gets back to shape.
So let's talk about Mr. VAR, because we've been having some conversation about I think me with Red Devils and then the other guys like VAR has been helping United a lot this year. They've been lucky with the VAR and with the assessment of the VAR, especially Bruno, because if you look at their matches this year, some of the penalties doesn't even kind of worth a penalty, but you give them because what is United. Like today now, I watched there was a tackle in which Mateo Kovacic made. He didn't even touch Bruno, and Bruno fell down, and it was given as a free kick. I was like, He didn't even
Yes.
touch Bruno. Then why do you fall down and get the free kick? That's a dive. That's a yellow card. That
No,
should
no,
be a
no.
yellow card.
To be fair, Giroud actually when he jumped,
No, I'm
Giroud
talking about the
launched his.
Kovacic and them Bruno Fernandez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in which he tackled, but he didn't even touch him. He did not touch him at all. He didn't, and he fell down. So I was like, "What's going on? He didn't touch you. Then why do you fall down?"
Well, that's the trick to the game.
Then I was like, because this year they've been very lucky with VL this year. So what's the assessment with VL and United himself? Do you think they've been lucky with VL or just overall VL has been bad this year?
Do I think what?
Do you think VL has been favoring United or VL himself has been real bad this year? Not just to
I
United
think
but to other teams.
officiating in the Premier League has been bad for the past 3 seasons, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about it for about 4 seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been embarrassing, especially at this level, because the VAR is not the machine. The VAR is a human being, and basically what the VAR sees is what we the viewers see. So
Mm-hmm.
if we see these things and we can arrive at a certain conclusion, why do these VAR officials um get to the same thing? We see it and interpret it in a very awkward and unusual um way, and it doesn't happen once, it doesn't happen twice, it keeps happening consistently. And know what makes it worse? When they begin to draw all those,
Lines.
all those lines, margins, all those things are unnecessary. The FIFA that introduced the VAR explicitly said that is when it's beyond all reasonable doubt, right? And it should
Mm-hmm.
be at at glance, when it's a situation whereby that's why it's faster to interpret in the Champions League and in other leagues. It's a situation whereby once you just have a look at it, even with your naked eyes, you have a look at
Mm-hmm.
the picture of the situation, and then you can say, oh yeah, straight up, this is that offside. Oh yes, straight up, this is this. Do you understand? But when you're in a situation where you have to start drawing symmetrical lines, to measure these by an inch, by a hair's breadth, all those things here and there, it becomes a joke. That happened to, I think it was Crystal Palace against Manchester United. It was
Mm-hmm.
very unfortunate, but I feel like that was a very good example. How do you measure? How do you look at that? And how do you measure that to be offside?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not good enough. They try to overdo it. They try to do like a next level of interpretation of the VAR or application of the VAR. They end up losing the whole thing entirely. As I said, it's not down to the VAR as the machine. It's down to the officials that are interpreting it somewhere in Stockley Park, London. That's the VAR headquarters in England.
Okay, but for me, do you think they need to go through the monitor a lot than just putting their hand on the hair and listen to the VR? I think for me, it's better for them to go through the monitor because the monitor is made for you to check either for handballs, for penalties, or for red card, which is why they made the monitor. But if you're a center referee, your job is to go to the monitor and see yourself because you're the one making the final decision because you can see it. You don't need to wait for them to make the decision for you. It's what you can see. It's more easier for you to make that decision because this is an handball, this is a penalty. So, but do you feel it's more better for them to use the monitor than just waiting for the VR people to kind of make the decision for them?
I mean, according to the FIFA rules, the center ref
Mm-hmm.
should have the final say. In
Yeah.
fact, the center ref has the final say, right?
Yeah.
But what the Premier League is practicing is not a situation whereby the center ref has the final say.
Mm.
What the Premier League is practicing is the VAR man somewhere in Stockley Park is making
Mm-hmm.
a decision and having the final say on decisions going on the field of play. And in that case, they're making the center kind of, somewhat redundant.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is why the reason the FIFA wants that to be the case is, this is why they have pitch side monitors where officials can go and look and come to conclusion by themselves. So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
if you're making reference, you will be in order and you'll be right when you say so and so ref, the center ref, Mike Dean, is responsible for this decision. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to, make reference to Mike Dean as and hold him responsible for a certain decision, and someone else is telling you, no, it wasn't his decision, it was a decision of a certain man in Stockley Park, it
Yeah.
doesn't
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Offside, are you there? Offside, you there? I think the network was a little bit bad. I can't hear you very well. Can you hear me offside? Offside, you there?
Exactly, you get me.
Mm-hmm. I think the network is breaking up. I can't hear you very well. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Finish up. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh, okay, okay. But for me, I think the way the VAR is being interpreted is kind of different in the EPL because if you look at the Champions League, the La Liga, the Bundesliga, and the Serie A, the center referee has the final decision to make on video assistant referee. They go to the monitor, they check, they see anything about handballs, red card, or let me say, just any offside call and everything. They go to the monitors and check, which make them like now the center ref has the final decision. But in EPL is different. So do you think there need to be a little bit of changes in the way they interpret the video assistant referee, or it's just not going to change for the new season?
Do I think what?
Do you think it needs to be changed a little bit, like for the upcoming season? Like they need more, the referee needs to go more into the monitor in terms of handball, penalty calls, and red card. They need to go more to the monitors and check, or just like I think it's okay with the way they're doing it now.
I don't understand. I don't understand the question.
Look, my question is: if you look at the Bundesliga, the Serie A, the La Liga, those referees go to the monitor and check and see what's going on in terms of being handball, penalties, or red card. But the EPL doesn't do it. So do you feel like it will be more safe and more secure for the center referee to go to the monitors and check themselves before making the decision, or they have to wait for the VAR for the upcoming season? Do you see any changes?
I mean, what they should have just adopt what's applicable in other leagues. I mean, obviously, it's working there. But as I said, the problem is not just down to the officials. Whether they are actually parked, they're watching on a monitor, or they're on the pitch, their judgment is hugely, massively flawed. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same way I tell you about formation. It's not just about formation. This formation is better. It's down to the application of the formation. That is for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the way I see it. Now, I just want to get your opinion. There was something I just came across a while ago, and I want to
Okay.
hear what you think about. I want to tell you what I think about it. No, you usually ask me about formation when we have the likes of the like of Timo Werner. You know, how would we play him, and
Mm-hmm.
the other wingers and all that.
Yeah.
And I came across a reaction by a Chelsea fan, a friend of mine, Vince, and there was something he said. I don't know if you mind if I read it.
Okay.
Okay, basically he was alluding to the fact that if we can't buy a centre back this summer, we should consider making three at the back our default formation next season. And he went on to say it suits our current centre backs and it also suits Werner. He can play with Giroud and Tammy up front. And you know what? I totally agree with him because Chelsea, I think under Conte, Chelsea plays the back three,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had Rudiger there. I think we had Rudiger and
Rudiger,
um,
Aspilicueta.
Rudiger
Aspilicueta.
Aspilicueta and who again? Was it Zuma?
Is it Zuma or Christensen?
Yes, one of them. But at least we
Mm-hmm.
had some of them there. And that was when Rudiger seemed like a very good centre back.
Yeah.
Once again today, he played well with three at the back.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like Chelsea adopts that. But then again, when we're playing against certain opposition, it will significantly alter Frank Lampard's style of play and preferred style of play rather.
Exactly.
But then what this does for Chelsea is that it can give a player like Kai
Red
Havertz.
Devil is there. Red Devil is there.
It can even give Kai Havertz and Timo Werner an opportunity to partner with Giroud up top, right?
Yeah.
In a 3-4-3 formation.
Yeah.
You get and Kai Havertz, can play as one of the wingers and coming in and all that. So welcome to the show, Red Devil. How do you
Red
feel?
Devil, how you doing, bro?
Can you breathe? Can you breathe?
Of course, I can hear everybody. Of course, I can.
Can you breathe?
So,
Can you
huh?
breathe though?
Right there, bro.
Of course, I can breathe. I wouldn't be speaking if I were like. Listen, okay, like. Fair enough. I'll take. Like I said, I'll
Oh
take the
my
L.
word.
I'm frustrated. Like I'm frustrated because to be honest, we gifted you those goals. And
Yeah, I agree.
and you know, I don't know what to say to just basically bad defensive things. You know, it's like there's nothing I can really say to it really. So it's like when you guys lost to Sheffield, for example, 3-0. It's like when Rudiger did his thing. It's like, what can you do to that? So I'd be more like, okay, fair enough if you kind of like carve this open type of thing and sort of, but it was just poor defensive mistakes. You know, I've said multiple. I actually said quite a few times. I actually don't understand why he dropped Romero and put De Gea in goal, because Romero has been our cup keeper. And if you're going to bring De Gea because it's like, oh, he's your first choice for the semi, then why don't you just play the strongest 11 from the get go? You know, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, so because Romero has not been, I think that, I think what's surprising, I think this is the thing with Ollie is that like, he. You know, yes, obviously we've beaten you 3 times already, and you know, to be fair, the law of averages would mean that you'd eventually beat us once. Because I couldn't remember the last time we had. But this happened again in the Carabao Cup semi-final with Pep, where like Ollie tried to basically play the same system he played when we beat you previously. We played 3-4-2 last time against your I think 4-3-3, and we beat you quite comfortably.
Yeah.
This time, Lampard obviously matched the system. And the reality is that, like, the 3-4, I've always actually said that the 3-4-3 system actually suits Arsenal and Chelsea more than it does other teams because you actually have the players that can play those positions well. That's how you're able to win the Premier League under Conte. And then Sarri came in and did whatever he decided to do. And then Lampard is doing his kind of thing. So if I'm Lampard, I certainly will play this system against Chelsea. The only thing is that you can't bring. The only thing about a 3-4-3 system is obviously it's the emphasis on the wing backs and stuff. You know, so and you know, there's certain players that might not necessarily benefit that, like from like a
Pulisic and
Pulisic, for example.
yeah.
But yeah, like so you know, Chelsea had better players in that system than United did because United, Brandon Williams and Wan-Bissaka are not really attacking fullbacks. Really, Brandon Williams, to be fair, still a kid. He's still 18 years old. He's literally this is just like his first. Like I think he even started halfway through the season. He's coming through injury to Luke Shaw, who missed. I'm not really going to criticize him that much. I mean, he got dominated on that side, but I don't really. I think it'd be harsh to criticize him because he's literally just a youth academy product that's just coming this season. So I don't want to criticize him, or even Greenwood for that matter, because I think he was at fault partly for the second goal, but De Gea should save that. But for me, you got to blame Ollie. Tactically, I don't think that he got this right, and I think losing Eric Bailly was a blow. I've said several times that Eric Bailly is our best centre back by far. Eric Bailly is our best centre back. He is, and as soon as he came off, we reverted to back to our sort of 4-3-3. And then that's basically when your system essentially what happened is that as soon as Bailly came off, we reverted back to a 4-3-3, and with our 4 players be off, you essentially basically did to us what we did to you at Stamford Bridge in the league. So, all in all, it's disappointing. It's even more disappointing because of the manner in which we conceded. But as I kind of said, I think in my preview that I posted on my channel, even on HH's thing, I'm not completely top 4 for me is still the priority in any sense, you know. So, and I sort of said that if we're going to make these changes to rest players, because you know, we whatever you say, you guys still did have 2 more days extra rest than we did, and this is our third game in 7 days, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has played the same team or in almost every game. So it's obvious that the players are tired. You know, whatever people say, like, you know, I don't know a single team in the top 6-7 that's played the same team for like 7 games
You're
in a
making
row.
excuses, Red Devil. Had it been
It's not an
guys
excuse.
won,
It's not an
you don't
excuse.
remember for
Like,
8 hours.
it's not an
Oh,
excuse.
come on.
How is
This won't be the first time. This
how is
won't be the
tiredness
first
not an
time you guys will
excuse?
be playing a midweek game or a game in 2 games in 3 days or 4 days.
We
Come
played
on.
3 games in a week, and like it's obvious to play. Like I look at Wan-Bissaka, for example.
There is a reason
Like,
you got to this level. You expected to be a big team. You have the squad. The
Yeah,
point
so I'm
was
saying-
your team did not do well. It had nothing to do with.
no, it has. It has. You can't tell me that Wan-Bissaka. You guys can even say objectively that Wan-Bissaka has probably been one of the best defensive right backs this season. Like, and in the last 2 or 3 games, he has not been good at all. And you guys bossed Wan-Bissaka. That hasn't happened for the majority of the season.
So
Why is it
are you
happening?
saying by this your theory, you're basically saying you guys will lose the next game as well against West Ham on Wednesday?
Yeah,
So it's all
possibly.
over.
Possibly we could. Possibly we could. Because
So what happens if you go and win it?
sorry.
What then
The only-
happens if you go on to win against West Ham?
The only
You not
because
consider
it's different. Because it's
you have to
different.
rest?
Because there's different factors obviously employed. Like for example, we could beat West Ham because West Ham have effectively secured promotion now. So they may think like, oh right, okay, well on the depending on how West Ham turn up because of the results of the weekend, they may think, oh yeah, we're safe now, we're cool. I would have been more worried about the West Ham game had they dropped points against Watford or drew, and then we're like, right, we're going to go to Manchester United. Now, if they even think about going on holiday, then yeah, of course Manchester United can win because their head is not there. I don't expect that from West Ham, but if they think like that, then of course United can win because as far as they're concerned, they've got nothing to play for and they're safe. But as a Manchester United fan watching my team, even in the Crystal Palace game and the Villa game and Saw, like it's clear that I'm seeing these players are tired. Like they're tired. Like, you know, but for some VAR interventions against Palace, we could have been screwed.
Mhm.
You know, it's just that the difference is that in those games, is that we played our we eventually played our strongest 11, and we had clinical players, and the system that because we scored the first goal and the system that we have, we were obviously able to exploit it because the positive thing about a 3 at the back system is that as soon as you basically scored the first goal and scored the second, it was game over because you can be so you can go back to a back 4, you can be compact. So there was no way that's why a 3 at the back system is so good, because if you get the first goal, then it's great because you can basically control the game by getting rid of any space that any players can have to run in. And that's why likes of Daniel James and Rashford in this game were useless, especially Daniel James, because you need space to run in. And you didn't give us that space if you're playing that system. The problem with a back 3-4 system is that then if you then go down in the game and then have to chase it, suddenly you have to you can't get out of that system, and then what happens is that players, and this is how people, if you watch Serie A and La Liga, this is how teams have now figured out Conte's system, because he plays 3-4-3 with Inter at times. Is that as soon as you concede, you have to then suddenly get out of that formation, probably revert to a 4-2-3-1 or something, and then suddenly all that space appears, and then boom, second goal, then that's it. So a 3-4-3 system is very, very good if you go a goal ahead or second goal ahead and keep it, because it's very, very easy to just basically see out a game with it, which is essentially what happened to Manchester United. Because United's front 3 needs space to run into. If we don't have that space, then and we don't have the creativity is a bit off with passing, then we're screwed basically. So, but like I said, go on.
Sorry to cut you short, but I'm not surprised that I mean personally, right? Would heap the blame on David De Gea, because I feel like all 3 goals, all of them should have gone beyond him, to be honest, including the own goal that was considered the last goal
I agree.
I wouldn't even blame the forward, the attackers or whatnot. Yeah, they could have done better, but David De Gea was at the center of everything that went.
I agree.
Manchester United.
I agree with
And
that.
it beggars the question: where should he be? Should he be in your side next season? How do you
That was
cope?
my
How do
next
you deal with
question.
the Henderson situation and all that?
Offside. I mean, I just said at the start. I don't get why he dropped Romero. I generally don't get why he dropped Romero. Like Romero for me is our cup keeper, just like Caballero is for you.
Mhm.
So for me, Romero got us to the semi-final. That's why I blame Oli in that sense, because I don't get why he dropped Romero. He's got us to the Europa League quarterfinal. He's got us to the FA Cup semi-final. So on what grounds did he drop him? He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. So I have no problem with playing. I've always say keep things consistent. So I still think put De Gea in the Premier League. Fine.
But when last did Romero play a game? Before the
He played the Norwich.
In the last against Norwich. In the last FA Cup game.
That was before the pandemic, yeah? It's been a long time.
No, was that?
Yeah, it's been a. But I think
that was after the pandemic.
After the pandemic, but
After the pandemic.
He's been a regular goalkeeper for the cup tie. He's been a regular goalkeeper.
All I'm saying is that like it's like you guys. When was the last time Caballero was in goal? Like you just stick with your cup keeper, and if he hasn't done anything wrong, then why do you change it? Like this is what I was trying to say. I was like, for me, Romero has not made any glaring issues or errors. And then fair enough, if he did it, the thing is, if Romero made those mistakes, I wouldn't be saying, why did he start De Gea? I would have just said, at the end of the day, he's our cup keeper. He's in the cup series, and that's it. And people have actually forgotten that it was actually Romero that was in goal when we won the Europa League.
But De Gea is still your first
Mourinho.
choice.
Sorry?
De Gea is still your first choice.
He is. But Romero is a good enough cup keeper. Like, as I said, he was in goal when we won the Europa League. So he's actually won since he's won a more recent trophy in goal than De Gea has. So, but the whole thing about, for me, the league or the league keeper is that it's about consistency. So you don't change your starting 11. Generally, you just keep things the same. The whole link-up play, partnership, etc. You with the centre back, unless like someone is having a massive mare and there's a better player that comes into that position, you just keep over a 38-game season. You just try and keep things consistent. That is fine. And generally speaking, for most of the games up until lockdown, De Gea has been okay. So I wouldn't change it. But for cups, when you have a cup keeper, you keep your cup keeper the same. Lampard didn't say, oh, Kepa's my first choice. Let me substitute Caballero for him. He stuck with Caballero. I just don't understand because for me, Romero doesn't make those mistakes. Or if he does make a mistake, it's not as glaringly bad as the three that Offside has mentioned that they make. But like I said, guys, I take the L, and you know, I think obviously if Lampard wins the FA Cup in his first season, I still think that at the end of the day, top four is the most important thing. So as I was telling people, I'm like, I know that it should be all about trophies. I know trophies are important, but at the end of the day, if Arsenal win the FA Cup and we get top four, is Sancho going to go to Arsenal or United? He's going to go to United because United are playing Champions League football, you know. So your ability to attract players, your ability to progress as a football club is based on. That's why I don't like the fact that top four is a trophy, but the reality is that. But it essentially is now because it's top four is greater than winning the FA Cup.
I think it depends.
But no, I even look at the example when Louis van Gaal won the FA Cup with United in his last season and got sacked because he didn't make top four. Because top four, it depends on the context, obviously, because obviously, you know, if Sheffield United were to win, you know what I mean? But if you, in the context of Arsenal's season, getting an FA Cup is a very, very good achievement given how bad their season has been. But I just mean in general, you know, the nature of the Premier League money and stuff like that and building teams is that top four is essentially a mini trophy, because you need to be able to get into the Champions League to attract players and to build on what you already have. So that's why, for me, whatever that happens in this season, getting Champions League football is the most important thing. Because if we don't get Champions League football, Sancho doesn't come, it's difficult to tie Pogba to a new contract, and you regress. That's why.
Red Devil, here we go. You're just, you're building on hope, assumption. The same way you've been building on hope, assumption, permutations over time, and keep crashing for you. Here you are once again building on hope. And, trying to. Trying to.
Spurs beat Leicester today.
You're hoping that Manchester United. Before we get to that, I just want to know your opinion. If let's say, okay, at this point, come the end of the season, how would you rate Frank Lampard against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Who would you say had the better season?
It depends. Well, I think fundamentally it will depend on who gets top four or not. Because if Solskjaer and finishing position, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finishes above Lampard, then you'd have to say that Ole had the better season, because bearing in mind that the likes that Bruno Fernandes and certain key players weren't present the whole season, and that where Ole was, where we were like at one point we were 11th. So to be 11th and then basically to claw that back so you finish potentially ahead of Chelsea, of course Ole has to. Of course Ole would have to have the better season, in my opinion. But if we don't finish, even if we finish fourth and Chelsea finish third and they have a trophy as a result from that, then yeah, by all counts, I would say that Lampard, certainly his first season, would be in that sense better than have been better than Ole. But it's just difficult because for me, going into the season, I already said that my prediction was that United would finish outside the top four, because we didn't have a creative midfielder in a Bruno Fernandes type player to actually create things. So
you had Pogba and Fernandes in the midfield today. What happened?
No. I mean, we're talking about the season here. So if we're talking about the season, I've got no doubt if we had Bruno Fernandes from the beginning of the season, we would be in top four comfortably. I don't think that's even in debate. If we had Bruno, because that creative number 10, that sort of thing, and bear in mind Pogba's been injured for Pogba, Martial, and Rashford injured for quite some time this season. It's difficult with permutations because then COVID came in, and then how can you tell with COVID, because so many players were injured but then came back, or now so for example, if we played Spurs before COVID, I know we would have battered them because all of Spurs players were out injured. Then COVID happened, and so you obviously have to take into account the fact that COVID obviously changed things for a lot of obviously players. But for me, because I had already said, and you could go onto my channel, my first video that I posted on my Red Devil Studio, I actually predicted that United would get fifth because we lacked that, a fast CDM, but more importantly, a creative number 10 cam, which we didn't get in Bruno Fernandes in January. If we didn't sign Bruno Fernandes in January, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I'd be saying, yeah, we're not getting top four. We're not even going to be interested. We're not. So, it's difficult to judge without Bruno not being in the side. So what I would say is I would reserve my judgment to the end of the season, because, this is what I was saying. This is what I was trying to say into the group with Abdullahi, is that we shouldn't be reactionary.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Manchester United was still up until this point unbeaten in 19 games.
19 games, yeah.
So a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, I can't just ignore the night since January. I think at the beginning of this year, ignore that." And even with Arsenal, we beat City. Great, you beat City. Great. You also lost to Brighton not that long ago.
Exactly.
So
Exactly, but,
When
but it's an irony coming from you, Red Devil, because I mean the biggest trophy you guys have won so far this season is we beat Chelsea 3 times, we beat Chelsea 3 times. Does it really matter at this point?
You haven't won a trophy yet, though.
I
Yeah,
know.
I
And
mean
we're in
the
Europa
biggest
League.
trophy you guys have won this season. The point is, here's the thing. Okay, you
But yeah,
guys
yeah,
beat
but,
us
but
3 times
your
this
question
season.
was, how do you rate
You
Ollie to
guys beat us
Lampard?
3 times this season. You beat us 3 times this season. You're
Yeah.
still behind us in the table. You beat us one of the 3 times in the cup competition. Where how far did you go? You didn't even
Yeah,
get to
but
the final.
your
Now,
question,
going into this one, no matter how bad it gets, Chelsea beat you guys to get to the final.
yeah, but
And
your question
even
was,
if
how do
Chelsea
you
does
rate?
not get a gold medal, Chelsea will certainly get a medal at the end of this competition.
How?
Certainly. Yes, second place, get a medal for second place in the FA Cup final.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's not a trophy. Come on, let's not talk about medals.
I
No
said
one
a
remembers the
medal. I
second
didn't say a
place.
trophy. The point is
It
you
is
get to a final.
medal. Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, we're
different. It's better than what you guys achieved.
we're still in the Europa League, so we can still win the Europa League.
That's
Okay.
true. But I
Okay.
think for me, Europa League is tough though because a lot of teams are in that Europa League. Wolves, Inter Milan,
Yeah,
Bayern
but
Leverkusen.
our road to the final is. So I expect United to beat Istanbul and FC Copenhagen, like with our
We
strongest
expect
team.
everything. You guys will win the Europa League. We'll come back here and talk about it when you guys get knocked out. Trust me.
You guys, see,
Exactly.
this is what I'm talking about reactionary. This is what happened. This is the thing. This is
No,
what
it's
happened
not
when you guys. No,
reactionary.
let me finish.
It's not
This is what happened when you guys
No
beat
one said-
Manchester City. Oh, we're gonna get treble. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. I stayed silent and I was like, let's wait. And I'm still saying it now. Let's wait till the end of the season to see what happens. You beat City and then you lost to West Ham and Sheffield United. Like, even with this, like, when
I
your
always
question
read
was
about
like,
that.
who's going to be better, Lampard or Ollie? I'm still like, let's see what happens at the end of the season, because you still potentially, yes, you've beaten us, but that doesn't mean that you're going to beat Liverpool and Wolves.
Yeah, you can't guarantee because that was my even next question. Be like, because yes, I know Liverpool has been very good in con this year, but and also they haven't lost a match I think since 2018 or 19 in Anfield. But this is football; anything is possible. That's why I keep telling you that Chelsea may go to Anfield and draw, or they may go there and win. It's very, very possible. Very possible. I'm not gonna say Chelsea gonna go there 100% and win. Out of 100%, I could say 80-20. The 20% is a slim chance, which I can guarantee. Yes,
Yeah, of
possibility.
course.
Mm-hmm. Because the way
course.
Liverpool have been playing this year, they have not been playing very well. So
No.
kind of,
No. See, this is why I disagree, Abdullah. Like, this is what I've seen all Chelsea fans or Liverpool not been playing sort of like, if you properly watch your 2 games they lost against, if you play your system that you play today, you have a chance. But I think people need to say that Liverpool haven't been playing well. Like, against Burnley, Liverpool peppered Burnley's goal, and it was just because of Nick Pope. And even against Arsenal, they had more chances than Arsenal's. Just it was again, they made 1 or 2 defensive errors. So it's not that Liverpool suddenly are playing crap, but it's that they made 1 or 2 defensive errors against Arsenal, uncharacteristically by Van Dijk and Alisson, and and Pope was a good goalkeeper. So I wouldn't go into the Anfield game thinking, "Oh, Liverpool played so poor, we're going to go there and win because we're like it's like no." I think you need to be cautious about that.
Okay,
Like
let me ask you this. Okay, let's say maybe Chelsea on Wednesday, we kind of maybe let's say we just make a win against Liverpool on Wednesday. Is the top 4 over or not yet, or we have to wait till the final day?
No, it'll be over because it will be because currently right now Chelsea have 63 points and I think we all have 62. So if you win, you have 66 points. So I think because if you beat Liverpool, because United and Leicester have to play each other, and especially because Leicester now lost to Spurs, if you beat Liverpool, you're pretty much secure top 4. So if you beat Liverpool, you secure top 4 definitely.
So it's over already. Once we beat Liverpool, it's over.
If you beat Liverpool, I won't say once we beat. If you beat Liverpool, you get top 4. But if you draw, then or you lose, it's still a bit tetchy. Because if we beat West Ham on Wednesday, or even if we draw against West Ham and you lose to Liverpool, we'll still go ahead of you. And be third.
Goal difference. Yeah, goal difference.
And I got on the goal difference, and then it'll come to the final day, and then you never know anything will happen. So like, I don't. You don't know. This is the thing. I'm at the point now where like I don't know. I expect to beat West Ham, but you don't know.
Exactly.
I expect Chelsea to beat Wolves, but again, you don't know. Like, it's what I guess I'm saying is like,
It's
you
sketchy.
can't.
It's sketchy.
You can't. Sorry, I was just making my point. I'm like, sorry, I'm talking too much. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that like, we need to, like, I don't think I was wrong based on evidence. 19 games unbeaten to expect United to win. That was the evidence. Like, and I'm trying, especially with Ollie, not to be reactionary. Because if we just say, oh, they lost this, oh, therefore everything's bad top to bottom, like it doesn't work. And so we can't just suddenly say that because even with Arsenal, oh, Arsenal beat City and Liverpool, therefore they're going to beat Southampton. It doesn't work like that, and Liverpool and City are where they are for a reason because they have the consistency. And so far this season, the issue of Chelsea and United is that they haven't shown that consistency. So would I be surprised, for example, if Chelsea lost to Wolves in the last game of the season? No, I would not. Because they've shown that inconsistency this season when they lost to West Ham. Would I be surprised if United lost to West Ham? I'd be annoyed, but would I be surprised? No, because they've showed that inconsistency all season.
No, United are very good though, but that should be a surprise because you guys are playing well. If you go to West Ham, it's gonna be a surprise for you guys because you'll be playing very well. You'll be very consistent. You would be. Yeah.
So this is the thing. Yeah, it would be more of a surprise to me now because in the league anyway, like we've not lost since January. So I guess I'm of the opinion right now that like it's a question of like we will see because I just think there's still too much at stake left to make a conclusive. Like it's almost like I'd rather like when like do this as soon as the whole season is over and even the FA Cup final is over, and then we can be like, right, okay, let's review everything because there's still too much. Chelsea could still, even though I think it's unlikely, they could still lose the FA Cup and finish outside of the top four, for example. And then like this conversation that we're having and even this result is basically meaningless. You know what I mean? So I don't think it will happen, but it's still possible. It's not impossible. So
exactly because of the lack of inconsistency this year. So I would say it's very possible. But were you surprised in the way Frank Lampard set up with Ole, or you were like, okay, we know he's gonna play back four, but were you surprised in the way we set up to play you guys today, or you were surprised?
Sorry, Abdullah, say that again. I
said, in the way Frank Lampard set up for you guys, were you surprised?
I was surprised that he matched Ollie. I will confess that, but it's difficult because Lampard has changed his system and his players almost every other game now. And that was actually a criticism that I had of Lampard on HH's Zone with you guys. I said Lampard doesn't know what his best starting 11 and what his system is.
Exactly.
So I genuinely thought that both teams would actually play 4-3-3. And I think if we did do that, I think we possibly would have won. I didn't expect us to all go set up as a three at the back. I didn't expect that at all. Let alone United. So
okay, go ahead, finish up.
No, I was just saying I didn't expect that, Abdullah. I didn't expect them to I'm sure there'll be people on HH's channel being like, where is Red Devil? Come out. So I'll have to but
I have a question to ask you, Red Devils, and I want you to be very sincere. So between Dean Anderson and David De Gea, who will you go for next season? Be very sincere. Between Dean Anderson of Sheffield United and the way De Gea has been this year, will you bring in Dean Anderson ahead of De Gea, or you give De Gea one more season to prove himself? Because I think for me, what De Gea is a competition. When the keeper get the competition, I think they tend to do much better than being the normal just overall goalkeeper. So will you bring in Dean Anderson to challenge, not even replace, to challenge David De Gea to step up his game, or you're just gonna give David De Gea another season to see how he's gonna perform.
You gotta see. You gotta see because I think that he's on very thin ice now. I think actually what a lot of people don't actually realize is that David De Gea's and I only found this out recently actually, is that just before David De Gea signed the new contract, which was, I don't know if it was last year or before, but anyway, David De Gea's a goalkeeping coach left, resign, because he felt that David De Gea went behind his back. So the goalkeeping coach David De Gea has now is not the same goalkeeping coach that he had like a year and a half or so back. So because he said he signed the contract behind his back, he didn't inform him or whatever. And I don't think it's a coincidence that David De Gea's form in the last year and a half has dipped ever since his goalkeeping coach has left, and he's got a different goalkeeping coach. I don't think it's a coincidence. I only learned this actually recently, actually. So now that I read it, I'm like, it actually started to make a bit of sense, because how has he gone from being a top keeper to making these errors? But that said, to be honest, bro, like, why didn't you even give Romero a go? People as I keep on saying, like, Romero is not a bad goalkeeper.
Yeah,
he's not. So for me, Dean Henderson is at Sheffield.
He's too good a backup, and I think he has wasted his career on Manchester United.
I agree. I mean, the only thing I'd say is that, like, he's getting paid what, 100+ K a week, something like that. So certain players are just happy to just, like Gareth Bale, I'm happy to sit on the bench and get 250K a week and play golf. Like, I'm not complaining. You know what I mean?
Arsenal's second choice keeper is also very good to sit on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been on the bench for 10 years. I think Martinez. He's been at the club for 10 years.
Damn, that's long. That's a long time.
Yeah, 10 years.
Oh my God,
10 years. For me, again, it's like let us see what happens. It's like I said, my summary is just like, we need to see what happens in the final. I want this season wrapped up quickly, basically. I'm actually a bit tired of it now, because I just want us to have, okay, we've got top 4 secure, that's it. And then, to be honest, if we get top 4, we can. I'll just enjoy watching. I can just Europa League is almost like an afterthought. Top 4 for me has always been the priority, so we can actually build and go forward. So if we still secure top 4 and De Gea is part of that, then okay, let's try him out for one final season. But if we lose top 4 on the final game of the season because David De Gea makes an absolute howler of a mistake, go for Romero, go for Dean Henderson next season. Absolutely.
Wait, are you telling me you're gonna put in David De Gea on the bench and you go for Dean Henderson? What?
Well, wait,
wait. So you're telling me you put David De Gea on the bench and you start Dean Henderson
from next season? From next season?
Yes.
Yeah. So from next season, well, no, not even either Henderson or Romero. You put Romero on because I think from what I understand, Henderson, I think they've agreed another year loan for Sheffield. So the reality is that Henderson is out of he's going back on loan to Sheffield United again. So that's I think that's already been agreed. So the reality is that he's not going to be our first choice keeper. So in terms of real situations, like, it's either going to be between him and Romero. So for me, you start Romero. If he makes that howler again, you put Romero try him out, and then Henderson. That's what you do.
Wow. But for me, where do you see
this is if we don't get top 4 because of a howler by him? Yeah.
Okay, so do you where do you think you can Dean Henderson can get a chance, or do you think him kind of growing up a little bit in Sheffield United before you can give him a chance? Because I think David De Gea already signed like a 4-year deal. It's still gonna take him like 3 to 4 years in United before you guys can bring Dean Henderson. Or do you still feel? I think it's the right time for us to have a competition for David De Gea. It's not been the De Gea we know. I think with
it's
The
it's
competition is gonna step up his
But
game.
if Romero is too good to be on the bench, that makes him a good competition. Problem
Yeah.
is the manager doesn't seem to have the balls to drop the gear and
Yeah.
give Romero a good run.
It's-
in the
Exactly.
side. That's the
Off-
problem.
off-
Maybe because of his wages.
offside is this is the thing. This is
Mhm.
why I think this is the problem sometimes when you at with Manchester United, right? And this is the same issue that we had with Alexis Sanchez. Remember, is that when a player is on high wages, high contract, etc., the board, the higher ups, you know, basically pressurize the manager to play the players. Now, at the end of the day, whatever you say about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's dream is to be Manchester United manager. So he's not going to go against the board like a Mourinho, for example. Like he's going to do whatever the board tells him to do because his dream job is to be Manchester United manager. So I assume it'd be the same thing with Lampard. Like, you don't go against the board. So when a player was on a high amount of wages, you're forced to play them. This is why Angel Gomez, for example, who left, because Angel Gomez rejected or didn't want to sign a new contract, he was frozen out. I don't think Ollie didn't want to play him. I genuinely think the board were like, well, if he's not going to commit himself to United, then you can't play him. You have to play his other people. Much like when we played Sanchez, even though Sanchez was bad, it was like, well, you've got to fit him in somehow because we paid this amount for him. And it's only because Sanchez wanted to leave to go to Inter and the loan that it happened. Otherwise, if Sanchez didn't want to leave, Alexis Sanchez would be playing for Manchester United right now in our first 11. He would be because of how much he's on. And so you can't, unfortunately, drop a David De Gea is the most best paid player in Manchester United. So you can't drop that player who's also just signed a new long-term deal for Romero, who's getting paid far less. Unfortunately, that's just unfortunately the nature of things. Unless like you've got a board that's going to work with you. It's why I presume that with that Lampard cannot drop Kepa indefinitely, unless
I think he did this year. He did it this year. He did it twice this year. Twice or thrice. I dropped him. Yeah, I dropped him this year.
Red Devil, you know what? I have a genius idea. Do you know? I have a suggestion for you guys. Ask me what it is.
Well,
Give us another.
I Kepa.
You guys can sign Kepa to save your
Give us Kepa.
No.
Let's do a swap deal.
Kepa from us.
Whatever you say. And this is why again consistency is key. Like if you look at the this is why consistency is important because if you look at the league table, Chelsea have still conceded. Like you've conceded more goals. I've said this several times. Like you've conceded more goals than anyone in the top 10.
Yeah.
Right.
So we talk about Arsenal's defense. We talk about Chelsea's. We talk about United's defense. But at the end of the day, if you look at that table, you've conceded more goals than anybody in the top 10 of the league, more than even Burnley.
Chelsea's defense is also being talked about.
Not as bad as Arsenal's or United's. I don't think so. I think people
not as bad as Arsenal's before Arteta joined the side. But there was a reason why from the time Arteta joined the side, in fact, from this calendar year up until just before up until after the pandemic, before the first game after the pandemic, Arteta's side had yet to lose any game in this calendar year. So I mean, it counts for something.
But I think that
very potent either.
I know, but coming offside, people criticize David Luiz far, far more than they do Zuma or Rudiger. Far, far more.
Nah.
Yeah, he's been in that sense.
Because of his antecedents before this season, not just now. His antecedents when he was at Chelsea.
I know.
Not just for his performance this season.
I know. I'm just saying that like objectively. Based on the like, even though we're talking about defensive keepers and stuff like that, and that's why, like I said, it's all these things have to be taken over a 38 game season. So it's David De Gea was poor here, but in another so game, like I think in the last, to be honest, like we've kept we kept a clean sheet essentially against Palace. We kept a clean sheet against Sheffield United. We kept a clean sheet against Villa. We kept a clean sheet against we didn't keep against Bournemouth and not Tottenham. Who else? I think it was just so 3 teams we kept a clean sheet against. I think Norwich was the first clean sheet that you guys kept, for example, since the restart, from what I can gather. So that's why I'm saying that all these things that like they average themselves out, or they come out over like a 38 game season, and the reason why Chelsea are in the position now, because under normal circumstances, a team that concedes the least amount of, has the worst defensive record in the top 10, has no place being in the top 4. They don't at all. But Chelsea in the top 4, not because of their defense, but because one, so many of the teams have been bad and have not been clinical enough to create chances. Which is where you have United, so like Arsenal, Spurs, etc. The clinically, the creativity to actually score goals isn't there. So if you actually see Chelsea's goals, they scored obviously a lot of goals. But more importantly, and maybe I'll put this to you guys, Olivier Giroud, fair play to him, has been probably Chelsea's most clutch player this season.
Exactly.
He is, despite being an Arsenal bench warmer. If Chelsea did not sign Olivier Giroud, I make this statement now, I don't think Chelsea get top 4. I don't. What do you think about that?
For me, I think I'm gonna go with what you said, because for me, I agree, because it's been there. Olivier Giroud, people call him brick, but he's a useful brick. You get what I'm saying? It's very. Whenever he starts, he score goals. Whenever he starts, he score goals. He will always tell the right back and the left back, either it's James, Marcos Alonso, or Dave. Just give me the ball space. Don't put it up. Just put it this way. He knows where the ball, like, there's a communication between him and the other wing backs before they give him the ball. So it's like when you have good communication with your other wing back, it makes it more easier for you being a striker to score goals. That's why I say when Timo comes in this coming season, it's easier for Timo to play with Olivier Giroud, because Olivier Giroud will give him more space to play. It will give him more time to score goals. All what Giroud needs to do is just open up your, like, rely on the defender and just give Timo the space. It will score goals for you. It will work very well with Giroud, because Giroud knows how to lay off ball to strike to other wingers to score goals. That's why Pulisic is kind of having more benefit in playing with Giroud than playing with Tammy Abraham. Because now Giroud knows how to, like, he knows where other wingers are. He knows when to give them what they want to shoot. So that's a massive plus having Giroud in Chelsea, because it's been helpful a lot for us. Very, very helpful. I don't know what Offside think about that. For me, it's been very helpful.
Just as Red Devil said, to be honest with you, I can't even imagine where Chelsea would have been at this point had it been not to retain Giroud in January, because Lampard admitted recently, that Giroud was literally on the verge of leaving the club. But for one reason or the other, he ended up staying, and afterwards, he got his run the side, and he has continued to deliver with the goals. I think in the last 4 games, he has scored consecutively in the last 4 games.
No, in the last 8 games, he has scored 7 goals.
Yeah, but in the last 4, he has scored consecutively, and that's a testament to how consistent he is. And beyond, I mean, it's easy to count the goals, but beyond the goals, which is the biggest thing I admire about him, or rather, the second biggest thing I admire about him, apart from the goals, contributes to the side. Even if he's not scoring, at least disturb the defense. Let the defense consider you a threat, right? Even if it's not directly from you as the goal scorer, but at least consider you a threat and a nuisance that can disorganize them and give an opportunity to your teammate to score. But even after Tammy Abraham came on, I mean, I can't even begin to imagine where Chelsea would have been without Giroud. Tammy Abraham came on today, or rather came on against Manchester United, and I struggled to see what he did in the side. He couldn't win area balls, despite the height he has, despite his lean build. That should expect him, you would expect him to have a higher jump, but he doesn't seem to be able to win area balls, and you struggle to understand what he brings to the side. Giroud at 33, is and should rightly be Chelsea's choice striker as things are. And even going into next season with the signing of Timo Werner, I struggle to see how Giroud shouldn't be starting in the side. In all honesty, I think he has done very well.
This is what I feel for Giroud, because like I feel like Giroud is like, I feel like he only gets appreciation when he plays for France. Similar to how Benzema was underappreciated when Ronaldo was at Madrid. You know, it's that this is and I think he was disrespected at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that it had Giroud stayed at Arsenal, the Arsenal would be in a better position than they are now, in my opinion. And to be honest, even with you guys, it was getting to a point where like it looked like he wanted to leave and go to West Ham, I think in January or something like that. Like it looked like
sorry to cut you short about that, Giroud. I think it was Magana Ganaskia that said he doesn't want Giroud to leave. I think it was Magana Ganaskia. She said because Giroud is because he wanted to go to Inter Milan and Lazio. There was the
I think so.
The Inter Milan broke down and said they don't want him anymore. The last minute, so Giroud was not happy. Then he said he wants to have a conversation with Frank Lampard to see about his future before he decides. I think Magana Ganaskia came in between Lampard and Giroud, and I think that was when everything became more easier for Giroud to stay. I think it was the decision between Ganaskia and Lampard with Olivier Giroud himself. I think that was what made everything much easier. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying that, like, I think that I've always said, I mean, even I was asked fun. I've always said that Olivier Giroud is an underrated player, and because he's not the types of goals he scores are not worldies or whatever. People just kind of disrespect him. But I've always said that he's a good player. And you know, it's like I said, like I think that, you know, if it was not for Olivier Giroud, I don't even know. I don't think Chelsea would be would be top 4. I certainly don't think that they would be like in this stage of the FA Cup, let alone where they are. I still think that Chelsea still don't have enough to overcome a 3-0 Bayern deficit. I think we'd be pushing it a bit too much if we think that Chelsea would come back against Bayern. But for me, as Offside even rightly sort of said, you know, you're like, you know, what I fear now is what's going to happen is that Giroud's going to do all this stuff, and then next season, bye Giroud, you're back to the bench. Okay, Timo Werner comes in. Okay, Ziyech comes in. Okay, this person comes in, and it'll all start again. But for all intents and purposes, I feel Giroud should start.
I think Giroud will start more when Timo Werner comes, because Timo Werner is not that good. Then it's like inside forward. That's where Timo Werner plays. He doesn't fit in as a striker. It's better for Giroud to play as a striker than play Timo Werner as a number 9.
The only issue with Giroud, the only real issue with Giroud is that like it's his age and the fact that he doesn't have pace. So it's like the same system problem thing where like Giroud is not the type of player who will get you back. He's either an impact sub or he'll get goals start the game. Like he's not the type of player that you bring on if you're 2-0 down. You know, what I'm trying to say, it's not that you don't bring him on 2-0 down, but it's just that he can't. If Chelsea, for example, go 2-0 down at Anfield playing Giroud, I don't expect Giroud will somehow magically get better at 70 minutes because he doesn't have the pace. You know, a pacey defender, man marks Giroud, will get out who's big, like a Van Dijk, for example, will generally 9 times out of 10 deal with Giroud. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have the pace and he can't last for a full 90 minutes. So if he doesn't score in the first 60 minutes, he's probably not going to score in the next 30. Let's put it that way. Whereas Tammy Abraham obviously has the pace to cause defenders problems. But you know, so that's the only weakness of Giroud, is that like he can't play 100% for 90 minutes, but obviously he can do a job. But anyway, go on.
But something that is worth mentioning about Giroud is the fact that, I mean, most of the goals he scores and not normal goals, not the kind of simple tappings, or they are very cheeky goals that he scores. And I think it's worth mentioning how much of a finisher he is. Yeah, we say he may not have the pace, he may not do this, he may not do that, he may not be Aguero, he may not be a Suarez, but he has his own way of finishing. Look at the goal he scored against Manchester United, for example. You know, from tight angles where you don't expect to score, and that's basically what you bring to the table. And this is where I still with you that he's not the kind of striker you want to bring in when you're 2 goals down. I literally feel like that is the kind of striker you need, especially if you want to press, when you want to press a side, have the ball in their box or around their box. Giroud is literally the striker that you need in that position, in my opinion, because he can bundle in a goal, he can just do anything, he can fight in the box, put his body on the line. That's literally the kind of striker I feel any team would need at that point. But it's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you both said it right already. You both said it right already. You guys said it right already. I think for me, you said it all already, which is good. I think getting Jude for me is like, for me is I would say like a plus and a little bit of blessing, because like it's been an impact. I won't say impactful, but it's been very impactful in the way we play this year. Despite we consider those goals, Jude has been very, very good. Consistent level has been scoring goals, which has helped us a lot this year, a lot this year. So it's been very good. It's been very, very good. Very good.
Well, I have
So
to go
let me.
now.
I think my last question to this is gonna be on Red Devils. Red Devils Studio.
Yeah,
I know-
my final question, because I've got to go, because I'm a bit. I need to just wait, just sleep this off, and then just move on.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, my final
Before
thing.
we forget, Red Devil, yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Please do me a reminder tomorrow, yeah.
For what? Oh,
You
sorry.
said you said you.
Oh, the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be. We usually do it 9 o'clock UK time. Yeah. So I'll do a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember me, please.
Cool. Yeah. No worries. I'll do that.
All right.
But yeah, we will.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. Like I said, I just think it's best for me to conserve what I say until the season is officially over, because it will change dramatically depending on what happens this week.
Yeah.
This is the big week. Anything can happen. So
Mhm.
if we don't get top 4, I will get there'll be a lot of hard truths that I will be dropping. If we do get top 4, then I'll be like, that's fine, So if Arsenal win the FA Cup, then that's great. But at the end of the day, like it's unfortunately, the FA Cup is not worth the same as top 4 anymore in terms of club progression.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. So yeah.
Exactly. I think that should be the final for the moment.
All right.
Thank you guys for showing up, guys. Thank you. I think Wednesday is gonna be the one for the Liverpool match. My God, I'm not gonna talk at the moment until Wednesday. I'm gonna say what
I know the Red Devil will have his eyes on that one.
I know.
But once
Yeah,
again,
I
I'm
will-
going to tell you.
Oh, of
I
course
wish you
I
the
will.
list- I wish you the list of luck.
I will have my. I mean, Jose's already done us a favor already. He's beaten Leicester, so that's
Leicester
the
City.
pressure.
Exactly.
So
It's
we
not
just
even the better for Chelsea anymore because they already beat Leicester. We can just draw the Liverpool and win the last match, and we make tougher.
I mean, you're saying these things as if they're guaranteed,
You're
So
saying it's
like,
very easy, as if it's that easy.
like, yeah, we'll just beat Liverpool, we'll just beat Wolves. Like Wolves are not a bad team. Like they're certainly better than West Ham and Sheffield. So like,
It's gonna be difficult though, but I believe we can do it. We can do it.
I still think if you guys beat Liverpool at Anfield, I will be the first to come and give a massive apology. I will, because if there's one thing that I'm at least certain, I can be more certain of is that. But if you do, I'll come up, give an apology, do whatever that you want, absolutely. But I'm more confident. Let's say.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. But then, obviously, if you guys fall out of the top 4 and don't get top 4 for whatever reason,
Nah.
I have to get something
Just
from you
say
guys.
that.
Yeah.
I can't. So you want a guard of honor from me as well to into the top
Yeah,
four.
exactly. I want a guard. I want you to clap. I want you to sort. If you guys don't go and get
So
four, I want
okay,
you guys
if
to clap.
we beat Liverpool, and you guys win. Maybe you draw against West Ham and you win against Leicester City. That's a guaranteed top four for you guys already. That's a guaranteed top four because
To
you
be
guys are on the
honest,
same
To be
goal
honest,
difference.
if we beat, it depends how much we beat West Ham, because what people don't really realize is that the goal difference. So now we're level on points of Leicester goal difference with a game less played. So let's say United. Let's say we beat West Ham 4-0, for example, at home. Then what it would mean is Leicester City have to score 4 goals against Manchester United. Even if we lost against Leicester, do I think that we'll lose 4-0 to Leicester away? I don't know. Even with De Gea, I'd still be surprised if United lost 4-0 away. That's what I'm trying to say. So the goal difference, the important thing with United on Wednesday is that we win, but we win by a considerable margin, because then Leicester City, if they want to overturn us, will have to obviously overturn that goal deficit, if that makes any sense.
I think for me, being a Chelsea fan, I think against big team, Chelsea will surely turn up. I know we will turn up. I'm not saying 100%, but I think against Liverpool we will turn up. It may be a draw, it may be a sneaking win, but I believe we will turn up.
So you're more worried about Wolves then?
Yeah, but I believe we'll turn up against Liverpool. I believe we will surely turn up against Liverpool. They may win because I already one part you'll be like, now this is out of the bag. We qualify for this. Now our focus is on the FA Cup. We have to go out there and win it, either a win or draw. It won't tell his player to no. It will tell them we have to get that win, because the pressure is going to be mounted if you don't win it. If you don't make the top four, so he knows, the players and themselves knows what's at stake. The manager himself, Lampard, knows exactly what's at stake. So they won't even fuck up, no matter how Liverpool plays. As long as we have a chance and we convert our chance, there is always a chance we'll beat them. There's always a chance. As long as we take our chances, I believe we'll beat them.
Yeah, of course. All I just say of these sort of things is to not necessarily just assume that because you get like a big result that will translate to like a I guess what I'm saying is that beating, just like us, we've beaten Manchester City 3 times this season. We've beaten you 3 times this season, but obviously it didn't translate to this. So a one-off like result being a big team does not necessarily mean that you then go and beat Wolves or you then go and beat this sort of thing, because you were in the situation, because our teams, what I would agree with Chelsea and United right now, is that both teams this season have lacked consistency. And that's basically where we are right now. And
sorry to cut you short. The head just said that it's possible that their home record could end on Wednesday. It's very possible that it may end one day. You never know. That Chelsea are not the team to write off. It's very possible the home record may end on Wednesday. It's very
it is, but like I still you can't not say that Liverpool aren't favourites at Anfield.
I already said it. 100% favorite. Like I think the only Chelsea team that have beaten Liverpool at Anfield, no other team have done it. I think it's only Chelsea have done it.
But it was like 3 years ago though. At this point, it was 2017. So it was like, so it's like you have, but it was like 3 years ago, and it wasn't on the clock.
I think we beat them last year too in the Carabao Cup in Anfield, if I could remember very well. Under Mauricio Sarri.
I mean, they were playing there. They were playing like. That's not really the same as they'll play. If you might win if Klopp does, and if Klopp goes and just plays youth kids and stuff like that, would fine. But he's kind of already said that he's not going to do that. He's not going to just make multiple changes with youth players. So if you have Mane and Salah and Firmino and Keita and Van Dijk actually plays well and Alisson plays well, it's going to be tough. Like Van Dijk is not Maguire, we know that, and Alisson is not De Gea, we know that. So
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. But
we'll see how it goes on Wednesday, though. So on Wednesday, see how it goes on Wednesday, though. So, guys, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay, take care, everyone. See you.
Peace out.
All right. Safe. Bye.